In the Egyptian capital, the army has used tear gas to stop angry crowds from marching on the presidential guardhouse. That was where over 50 protesters were shot dead almost 2 weeks ago. Supporters of the ousted President Morsi have been demonstrating en masse nationwide, demanding his reinstatement. With me now live is award-winning journalist Hugh Miles, who specialises on the Middle East. And Mr. Miles, thank you very much for coming on RT today. Good to see you. It's just not calming down in Cairo. Some people now saying that we're on the brink of a revolution within a revolution. Your thoughts?
Well, certainly Egypt is in turmoil. The country is more divided than it's ever been, and the future is highly uncertain. So, yes, indeed, it's possible. Anything is possible at this stage.
Well, certainly at this stage, as you say, the Islamists are unhappy with Morsi gone, but everyone else is unhappy with Morsi in power. Can there be a middle ground at this point?
Well, there has to be. They have to try and negotiate a solution. They have to try and form a government that includes the Islamists and the seculars and liberals. But so far, they haven't managed to do this at all. And so what we're likely to see is a swinging between these two poles in Egyptian politics going forward. At the moment, they obviously Morsi's just been deposed, but he could be back if the liberals can't do the job well enough. And of course, Egypt is a very difficult country to govern. It's got many social and economic problems. Yes, it's just received a huge cash injection from the Saudis and Emiratis and others, and that has solved the economic problem in the short term. But it has been replaced by a new problem, which is that the Islamists are outside the government, and it's not possible just to shrug them off like this. The Muslim Brotherhood has very deep roots in Egyptian society. It has millions of supporters. It's been around for many years, and it has to have a stake in power.
Well, certainly, I mean, there are many saying that there has to be some sort of Islamist representation. I mean, let's not forget, for example, half the country voted for them in the last election. But let's address now the issues with the army. The army's no-nonsense approach has worried many, indeed, around the world. The UK already cancelling arms exports over the crackdown. How far do you think the military is prepared to go in curbing the protests?
Well, I mean, we've already seen that they're prepared to use quite excessive force to shoot unarmed protesters, if that's what it takes. And you know, the Egyptian army is a very tough force. I mean, they are prepared to do anything, it seems, in order to keep the Muslim Brotherhood out of power. At the moment, Mohamed Morsi is still locked up, and the Muslim Brotherhood media has still been shut down. So there's been really very punitive measures taken against the Brotherhood, and this is not going to help in the long run. What Egypt needs to do is they need to reconcile these two sides, because otherwise, it's going to be too easy for the Islamists to make problems. For example, by using peaceful protests, they can bring the country to its knees. The country is already on its knees, and it will be too easy for them to derail the new government. They have a lot of sympathy from the people. Even the most negative polls suggest they still command maybe 30% of the population. So they will be back, and they are not over. So we could see a swing back the other way in a few weeks or months or in a year.
Well, certainly, we've seen weeks now of protests and demonstrations. Here we were showing live pictures here on RT. We've been doing so throughout the night. In fact, live pictures at the moment here on the programme from downtown Cairo, the infamous Tahrir Square now as well. Apart from the issues with the Muslim Brotherhood, as you say, it really is front and centre in this. You mentioned a moment ago the issue of the economy, that Saudi Arabia, other nations have sent in money for the time being to try and help with the stumbling economy. But however, it is a ticking time bomb, that of the Egyptian economy. What happens truly when it falters? You mentioned a moment ago saying that Egypt is already on its knees. So how much lower can it go?
Well, there is a plan. It is possible that Egypt can recover. It's not fallen apart yet. But it does have very deep problems: unemployment, social inequality, poverty. These need to be addressed, and that's going to be very tough. Now, There is a very competent new cabinet that has been much trumpeted, that's just been instated, and there are many economic experts and people with very distinguished former careers who are no doubt very wise and well placed to set about this difficult task. But they're not going to manage it unless they have political reconciliation, and so that needs to come first, and there's really no sign of that at the moment. The two sides are deeply divided, and as long as that's the case, the situation really is only going to deteriorate.
Indeed, and I think it continues to deteriorate, perhaps. So the emotions running high. We're showing live pictures here on RT, live pictures during our discussion here, showing what must be tens of thousands there in downtown Cairo. We'll just have to see how it continues to pan out. Award-winning journalist specialising on the Middle East, Hugh Miles, thank you for joining us here on RT today.